fellow artists, and if you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm Mad Tzen and I'm a digital illustrator. I create Procreate tutorials for beginners. In today's Procreate tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use masks in Procreate. We're going to be looking at how to use two different types of masks in Procreate. And since I'm going to be teaching you guys how to use masks, I thought we could do it by creating a text design to make things more fun. Today we're going to be using this photo of a sliced orange for our masking examples. In case you're interested in knowing how to import photos into Procreate, you just come up here to Actions and then click on Add and then click on Insert Photo. So now let's get on with the tutorial. The first thing we need to do is delete the background of the photo, because in this case we're only going to need the orange. So I'm going to fast forward the part where I delete the background and also fixing up the edges. I created a tutorial on how to delete a background in Procreate, which I'll leave the link above and also in the description below for you to check out if you haven't already. In that delete a background tutorial, I also share some Procreate tips on how to smooth out and fix pixelated edges. I'm just going to quickly fix this up before we continue. So now that we're done deleting the background, let's go see what it looks like when we delete the background color layer, which should leave us with a nice clean image. The next thing that we're going to do is duplicate our orange, and we can do that by sliding the layer to the left and then click on duplicate. We're only going to need one of these oranges for now, so let's turn off the bottom orange by toggling off that layer and also making sure that the top orange is selected. Next, we're going to add text. So we're going to come up here to Actions, and then we're going to go down to Add Text and click on it. So from here, we need to get to the keyboard. So we're going to click on this pen image on the bottom left of the canvas, which will bring up a tiny menu at the bottom of the screen. We're going to click on the keyboard icon, then click on the backspace button to clear the text. Next, we click on the caps lock button on the left here, which has an arrow pointing up so that we can type the word orange in capital letters. To exit the keyboard, you just click on the canvas. Then we'll need to go back to Layers and click on the A icon to bring up a menu on the left so that we can click on Edit Text. Then we're going to double tap on our word to highlight the entire orange word because we want to change its color. Then we'll go to the color icon up here in the top right, and I'm going to change its color to orange. I'm just going to go back to Layers and turn background color back on just to see what the orange text looks like with a white background. It looks pretty good. So the next thing we want to do is make the text larger. So we're going to click on the transform tool up here, and then we're going to drag these corner nodes until we get the size that we want. We can also use the transform tool to drag and reposition our text. When you're happy with the position of your text, we'll go back to Layers, click on the A image again, and once again click on Edit Text. This time we're going to change the font. So let's double click on our text, and then we'll see a menu show up. You'll see a keyboard icon on the left, and you'll need to use your finger to activate it. Once a larger keyboard shows up at the bottom of the screen, we need to click on the double A icon on the right, which will give us access to our fonts. The font that we're going to be using today is called Avenir Next Condensed, and you'll see that the column next to it has many different styles for that font. For today's example, I'm going to be using the demi-bold style. And then I'm going to click on Done. Changing your font can sometimes adjust the size of your text. We're going to need to make our orange text a little bit larger. A Procreate tip I can give you guys is that you have the ability to adjust how tall or wide your text can be. And this can be done by using the freeform selection at the bottom left here, highlighted in blue. So in this case, I want to make the text a little bit taller. So I'm going to use the freeform tool to adjust the height. The next thing we want to do is go back to Layers, and we're going to drag our text layer between the two orange images. Once you've done that, you can adjust your text again if necessary. Then what I'm going to do is go back to Layers and select all of the layers by swiping right on each one. Then I'll use the transform tool to reposition the image. Now the next part I'm going to show you is how to use the first mask. So this first mask will show you how to embed your image only into the text. So let's go to Layers, and then we'll click on the A icon, and then we'll click on Select in the list. And we're going to click on the orange image for the top layer. And then we're going to choose mask from the list. The orange text mask should now be showing up above the orange image. The mask up above and the orange image selected under it are now one. And you'll also notice that the orange image is now embedded inside of the text. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the bottom orange image and we're going to duplicate it. We're going to toggle the duplicated copy on and we're going to drag that layer to the very top of the list. If I toggle off this layer, you'll see that our text layer is just underneath. So I'm going to toggle this top layer back on. And we're going to click on the image and we're going to choose mask once again. Now I'm going to teach you the second way you can use a mask in Procreate, which is quite different to the first one that we've done. So we'll go to the color wheel and I'm going to double tap on the black section down here to get pure black. Then we'll go back to layers and we're going to click on the N here on the right side of our orange image so that we can bring the opacity down to be able to see and use the first mask as a guide. Don't worry, because later on we're going to bring the opacity back to 100%. For the second mask, we're going to be using the monoline brush, which can be found under the calligraphy category, and you'll find monoline just here. So for the second mask, the black acts like an erase tool. So as you can see, I can erase parts of my image using the color black. So I'm just going to fast forward this to delete any of the parts that we don't want on our image. We only want some parts of the orange image showing up in front of the text. In case you get into any tight spots, like tiny corners where the monoline brush is too big to use, you can go back to the brush library and find the inking category and then use the fine tip brush. This brush will ensure that you can get into those tiny corners. I'm just going to continue deleting some of the other orange parts before we move on. If you make any mistakes and delete parts that you do not want gone, you just need to go back to the color wheel and choose pure white and use the white to bring back those parts that you had deleted. And this is the reason why using masks is important. Instead of deleting a piece of artwork completely, you have the ability to bring parts back when needed. You'll be working in a non-destructive way. Next, we'll go back to layers and I'm going to duplicate the orange text. And then I'm going to drag a text layer to the top of the list. Then I'm going to click on the A image, then click on mask. You make sure you have black in the color wheel. And I'm just going to go over the letters R, A, and N. I'm just quickly going to turn the canvas since I want this to be in landscape. Then I'm going to go to layers and select all of the layers. And I'm going to use the transform tool to turn the image 90 degrees to the right. And you can do this by using the green node up here. Next, we'll go back to layers and I'm going to duplicate the text layer at the bottom. Then I'm going to go to the bottom A layer to bring up a list because we need to go to edit text. Once again, I'm going to double click on the word. Then we'll go to the color wheel and choose a light brown color. After that, we need to go to the adjustments tool and then go down the list until you find Gaussian blur. Then choose layer on the left and we're going to slide our pen until we get to 5%. Next, you'll need to use the transform tool to shift that blurred text a little bit to the bottom right. This is going to create our shadow. Next, I'm going to go back to layers, then I'm going to click on the bottom orange image and then click on the plus icon to add a new layer above it. Then I'm going to go back to the color wheel and choose another orange color, something a little bit darker than our text color. And I'm going to drag that color onto that blank layer. Then we'll go back to the color wheel and choose yellow. And I'm just going to draw a circle like so. And I'm going to drag that yellow into the circle. Then we'll need to go back to adjustments to access Gaussian blur. And this time we're going to take Gaussian blur up to 26.7%. We're almost done, guys. I'm just going to add some extra orange juice dripping from the orange. If you'd like to know how I did this technique, you can check out one of my Procreate tutorials on how to use the clone tool in Procreate, which I'll leave the link above and also in the description below. Now you know how to use masks in Procreate. If you'd like to be more proficient in Procreate, you can check out some of my other tutorials with the link above. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next Procreate tutorial.